Welcome to the next installment of my video lecture series. And in this particular video lecture, we're going to be taking it a Cournot Duopoly. What's going to make this different than some of the previous video lectures I've done is that one of the firms is going to be receiving a subsidy from the government. So we're going to look at how to approach that type of problem when one firm is getting a subsidy. So we're going to use the same problem that we've used previously in the other video lectures. Duopolists face the inverse demand function, P is equal to 190 minus 2Q, with both firms facing marginal cost of $10. Firm 1 receives a government subsidy of $15 per unit. Find the equilibrium output and price. So that is what the total revenue function for firm 1 is going to look like, and I have sections of it in different colors to illustrate what the different parts of this actually mean. In yellow, we have the inverse demand function. In white, Q1 there is the quantity of firm 1. So what we're doing there on that left-hand part, those two parts right there, is just price times quantity. And in purple, we have the subsidy. So the subsidy is $15 per unit. So the total subsidy is going to be equal to $15 multiplied by the output of firm 1. If we want to have the profit function, what we end up doing is we take total revenue, which we have above there, and we take off total cost. So total cost is going to be equal to 10, which is the marginal cost, multiplied by the output of the firm. So if we have total revenue on the left there in the white, and we have total cost on the right-hand side in that greenish color, I guess. I guess it's green, somewhere approximating green. So there is total revenue. That is total profit. That's the profit function of firm 1. So what we're going to do is multiply Q1 through here. So we end up, when we multiply Q1 through those brackets, is get 190 Q1 minus 2Q1 squared minus 2Q2 Q1 plus 15 Q1 minus 10 Q1. If we simplify that out, on the right-hand side here, we have 15Q minus 10Q, which leaves us 5Q over. So we add that into the 190Q1. So that gives us the profit is equal to 195Q1 minus 2Q1 squared minus 2Q2 Q1. In order for this firm to maximize profits, in order to determine this, we're going to take the first derivative of profit with respect to Q1, and that gives us 195 minus Q sub 1 minus 2Q sub 2. We set that equal to, so we take the derivative of the profit function for firm 1, we set that equal to 0 and solve for Q sub 1. So we add plus Q sub 1 to both sides. We get 4Q sub 1 is equal to 195 minus 2Q sub 2. And we divide through by 4, and we get Q sub 1 is equal to 48.75 minus 0.5 Q2, and that is the reaction function of firm 1. Now we need to find out the reaction function of firm 2, so we start off with total revenue, and again we have the inverse demand function, and we multiply that by the output of firm 2 to give us the total revenue function for firm 2. We subtract cost off of that total revenue, so the left-hand portion of that is total revenue, and we subtract 10Q sub 2 because, as it says above, we have marginal cost for both firms is equal to 10, so the total cost is going to be equal to 10 multiplied by the output of firm 2, so we have negative 10Q sub 2. And using total revenue and total cost together, total revenue and total cost, that will give us the profit function of firm 2. So we multiplied through by Q2 for the left-hand side part there for total revenue. We simplify and we end up with the profit function of firm 2 is equal to 180 Q sub 2 minus 2 Q sub 1 Q sub 2 minus 2 Q sub 2 squared. We take the first derivative of that and we get 180 minus 2Q sub 1 minus 4Q sub 2. If we set that equal to 0 and solve for Q2, we get 4Q sub 2 is equal to 180 minus 2Q sub 1. We divide through by 4, and we get Q2 is equal to 45 minus 0.5 Q1, which is the reaction function of firm 2. So we've gone through this, and we've gotten the reaction functions of both firms. And what we need to do is we can place the information from the reaction function of firm 2 into the reaction function of firm 1. So that gives us Q sub 1 is equal to 48.75 minus 0.5, and in brackets we have 45 minus 0.5 Q sub 1. We multiply that 0.5 through the brackets, which gives us Q1 equals 48.75 minus 22.5 plus 0.25 Q1. We simplify it and we get Q1 is equal to 26.25 plus 0.25 Q1. We subtract 0.25 Q1 from both sides, and that gives us 0.75 Q1 is equal to 26.25. And when we divide both sides by 0.75, that gives us Q1 of 35. So we've solved for what the output level of the first firm is, firm 1's output level. So firm 1 output level is equal to 35. We can place that into the reaction function of firm 2. So we put Q1 into the reaction function, the 35 into the reaction function of firm 2. So we end up with Q sub 2 is equal to 45 minus 0.5 times 35. We multiply that negative 0.5 through, and we get Q sub 2 is equal to 45 minus 17.5, and that gives us an output for firm 2 equal to 27.5. So we have the output of both firms. Firm 1 is going to produce 35. Firm 2 is going to produce 27.5. So we use that information to give us the total output of the marketplace. There's only two firms, so their individual outputs added together give us the output in the marketplace. We do that, and the market output is equal to 62.5. Now that we know what the output of the market is, we can place that into the inverse demand function, which is P equals 190 minus 2Q. We put that Q, that 62.5, into the inverse demand function. Multiply by that negative 2, we get P is equal to 190 minus 125, and the market price is going to be equal to 65. So the important thing about this is that if you're faced with a duopolist problem and one firm is receiving a subsidy, make sure you make the appropriate adjustment to the total revenue function. The total revenue function is going to be P times Q plus the value of the subsidy. So it's going to be the subsidy multiplied by the output of the firm that is receiving the subsidy. Then you go through the steps of, once you have total revenue, you subtract total cost off of that and go through the process of finding the profit maximizing output level. Also, make sure you remember that because firm 2 is not receiving that subsidy, this has no impact on their reaction function.